the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Absolutely. It is time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. We'll be talking to Blake in mere seconds. But first of all, before we do, let me give you some contact information. You're going to hear so much information in the next 30 minutes. You're going to go, what? Can I have more about that? Well, you can, but you got to call Blake. Call Blake at his office. It's 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. You can also look up Sloan Realty Group. There are other groups that are similarly named. You'll be cool. Sloan Realty Group, 843-808-SOLD. Or you can go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. Very simple stuff, but we'll repeat that for you several times over the next 30 minutes. In the meantime, let's go ahead and bring him in and get that show started. Here's Blake Sloan.
Good morning. Got an awesome, big show full of tons of news in the housing market this week. Some stuff we'll talk about. First, talk about that new HOA legislation that passed in South Carolina this week. I'm not sure if you guys I'll talk about it in your show, right?
Just a little bit this morning.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things that's a big deal. It's something that I think that was needed, and I'll kind of give my perspective on it and what I've seen. I have a couple of friends that were actually co-sponsors on that bill, which is pretty neat. And so we'll talk about what that means and kind of what's going on there with that. Talk about a new shocking report that came out this week. I got it from zerohedge.com. That's kind of a big, they do news on everything, but the seventh straight month that national pending home sales went down. And so we're still been up, right? But we talked about how we follow these other areas. And so we'll talk about what that means. It's not that necessarily bad things, like values are not going down. There's just less pending homes for sale, which also has to do with inventory. So we'll talk about that, what that means. Obviously, it is not a great statistic to have, but we'll talk about what that means to us here locally because we're still performing well, which is great news. But it's something to watch and keep in mind for the future. And that's one thing that's super important. We'll also get into our market numbers. We're obviously finishing just last month up. We'll have the new numbers up very soon, and so we'll talk about there as well, which is tons of stuff packed in here and some brand new awesome success stories. Our team's been crushing it all the way into obviously Labor Day weekend and continue going to do so for the rest of the year.
All right, well, a lot of stuff to get to, and we'll get to it in just a second. First of all, if you're tuning in for the very first time, you want to know who Blake is. Who is this guy? Well, he has been called the real estate whiz kid. He's been called a lot of great things because he does so many things that nobody else does. He's been on Wall Street Journal, he's been in Realtor magazine, Forbes magazine, other national publications. You've seen him on TV with NBC. You've seen him on TV with Fox and Friends. You hear the endorsements on this very radio station from Sean Hannity, from Glenn Beck, from Gary LaVox, Barbara Corcoran, and more. With those all together, it's unprecedented in the real estate world. And the thing is, he also has some trademark systems that he has for both his buyers and sellers, so much so that people from around the world have asked him to, share the secrets. Well, he'll share if you're a client of his, but he doesn't want to share too much because, well, they're trademarked. But at least you will get a taste of some of the most important parts of what your systems are.
Hands down. And so that's one thing that we did is we created a system that was proven repeatable, that obviously is trademarked and licensed to other agents, other parts of the country, but it works very well. And what it is, I looked at what people did outside of real estate and kind of model a system like that into real estate. But ultimately, there's one thing that is kind of the single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller. It comes down to one thing only. And that thing is the agent that you choose, period, because it has to do with how they execute. So, for example, when you're selling a house, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, guess what? That puts money in your pocket and your property gets sold. If anything in that process is handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball at any point, that could be anything from them not calling buyers back, them not answering buyers, them messing up some negotiation, the purchase price, or the home inspection. So long story short, if any of those are drops, it's going to cost you money. So what we did is we identified every single one of those variables. That's how we know it's 118. We create a system that's proven or repeatable that creates maximum leverage at every single point. It's very much like stacking dominoes. You stack the dominoes in the right order, right? You knock them over, and obviously that has momentum there. It's the same exact thing that we do in the process of selling a house. Most agents, in the business model standpoint, are one single agent trying to juggle all these balls. There's no way they can manage those practically, and so that's what the team of people that does it. It's almost like that example we always kind of say is that, it's like running a marathon or an Ironman. Everyone takes off at the same time, but some finish 2 and 3 hours ahead of the other. Very small increments make large differences in the long run. It's the same exact thing that we do for sellers called the guaranteed sold system. The only proven system to sell them twice as fast and for up to 21% more money than traditional methods. And also for home buyers out there, guess what? Same exact thing, just different variables. There's 100+ variables on the buy side, most of which are the opposite. So obviously the other side of the transaction. But what we did is We identify those, create a system that's proven repeatable, that creates maximum leverage, called the unfair advantage home buying system, and basically gets you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, and the absolute best negotiation in both the transaction, aka price, and also into your home inspection. So always these things, if you don't realize they need, are there, and they're practically managed. Where the other shocking fact is that the average agent or MLS sells less than 4 homes per year. And so the reality is, you're buying your largest asset or selling your largest asset. You don't necessarily want to go with someone who's only selling 4 a year, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong and cost you tons and tons of money. And so from us, those systems are proven and repeatable, and give our client a huge competitive advantage when they're buying or selling a home for sure.
All right. Well, that's just a taste of what you're going to be getting here. We're just getting started on the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show. Coming up in just a minute, we're going to be checking some really important stuff. Number one, interest rates, to find out how much money you could be losing or gaining, depending on how quickly you move. Well, also coming up, a real estate update, find out what's going on in the market as far as the latest numbers are concerned. That's all coming up in just a minute. We're just getting started. Get in touch with Blake at Sloan Realty Group, 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. Or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you own property in Myrtle Beach, the national marketing plan of the realtor that you choose is absolutely critical. Now, that's exactly why you need to talk to Blake Sloan at Sloan Realty Group. Now, Blake has a marketing system on a whole different level than anyone else in Myrtle Beach. That's so effective at capturing local buyers from around the world that he can guarantee to sell your home at a price and a deadline that you agree to, or Blake's going to buy it. While most agents rely on yard signs and open houses that attract the occasional buyer, Blake attracts hundreds of buyers each month, which creates demand and helps your property sell fast and for top dollar. Now, that's why, on average, Blake sells a property every single day of the year and is ranked among the top 100 agents in the entire U.S. by the Wall Street Journal. Now, working with Blake is risk-free. If you're not happy, Blake gives you the freedom to cancel your contract and pay nothing. So give Blake a call today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or just go online and see Blake's interview on NBC at blakesguarantee.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corcoran. To sell your home on time for the most money, you need a sharp agent with a marketing strategy that creates the most demand. Bottom line, you need a partner willing to put their own money on the line for you. In Myrtle Beach, I would hire Blake Sloan. His international marketing creates so much demand that if your home doesn't sell at a price and deadline you agree to, Blake will buy it. Partner with the agent I trust. Go online or call and get your home sold.
The Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Interest rates coming up in just a second. See the most important numbers you might hear all weekend. That's coming up in just a sec. Right now, though, your real estate update. Find out what's happening in our local market. Any updates on that, Blake?
So quick update for anyone that missed last week. Kind of an overall macro market, which is like the entire MLS, which is pretty much Horry and Georgetown counties in that regard. But so last month for single family resale homes, the sales were up 7.9%, which is great news. So we're not seeing the same thing as some of those national numbers are in regards to how, basically pending home sales and sales getting sold. The one thing to look at in that regard that everybody cares about, right, is about sales price. Like, what's my price of my home doing? And so sales price up 6% versus the same month last year, which is awesome news. 212,000, which is great. If you look back all the way into January, the median price was 190, and so great news overall there as well. The other thing too, if you look at months of supply, there's 5.3 months of inventory, so it's pretty much the same exact where it was before. That's less. Anything below 6 months is a seller's market, which means the seller kind of has the upper hand in that, because there's less inventory for sale. That's one of the reasons we'll talk about in a second of why you're seeing a decline in pending sales across the country for the past 7 months. It's just there's just less homes for sale in that arena. And so for us here in a local market, like I mentioned over and over, we're usually behind a lot of the big metro markets about 6-7 months in that regard. And so that's something we can use to kind of help adjust and make sure we plan from that accordingly. So for anyone out there thinking about selling, you probably want to take advantage of that before we get into some of these further months, like especially November, December, January. You want to take advantage of that now. There's a shoulder season with tons and tons of buyers in. Our spring and fall are very, very, very strong. Last year, for example, we talked about the highest month in sales in our MLS was August of last year. And so that's something to kind of keep in mind as a home seller out there. That's something we'll kind of keep talking about when you see a combination of less inventory and higher interest rates. And so that's just something to kind of keep in mind as well. If you go to closed sales for new construction, they were at 5% last month for the same month last year, which is great news there. Prices up 11.6%. So huge jump there, double digit for new construction. Again, that has to do with a lot of that inventory, and you're seeing prices kind of jump up. Median price 251, 270, and a months of supply of new construction is the same exact it was last year at 5.3 months. Kind of leveled out there. They're building as fast as they can, but it's still technically kind of a shortage in that regard. If you look at condos been kicking butt, man. It's crazy. They were up 22.4% last month versus the same month last year, with 513 condos sold that were resale condos into prices of 4%. And so that's kind of the shocking number for me a little bit, where you expect to see that higher going forward, because as you know, a 22% increase in sales is going to lead to the lagging indicator of price going up, right? And so last month, 129,500 was median price there. And the inventory, check us out, down 19% from the same place it was last year. So that's where you're going to see a big movement. If you're in condos, if you have a condo you had on the market or want to get it sold, you need to call me now, because obviously it's supply and demand. So demand is way up, 22% increase in sales. Demand down 19%. You can see what's going to move very quickly. It's going to be price. And so that's something to keep in mind. Right now, 4.7 months of inventory on the MLS, which is one of the lowest we've ever seen. It's tied for the same it was last month. And so overall, great news for condo owners out there if you're thinking about selling, because obviously that's something that you want to keep in mind and take into account. So that's something interesting. The one key number here that we don't hit on too hard was pending sales. So that's basically how many properties are listed as pending in MLS versus where it was before. We did have a decline here on our first ones, down 2.4%. And so right now, 519 resale homes pending in there, and so it's down 2.4%. And that's kind of what that overall report was. That was a national report that came out from Zero Hedge. We'll talk about we're 7 straight months of decline pending home sales. And so interesting thing to watch there. Part of that has to do with interest rates, and kind of into rates really quick.
Okay.
A 30-year fixed rate right now is 4.66%. It's remained pretty much flat movement wise for the past 3 weeks. Up a little, down a little. A 15-year fix right now is 4.17%. A 30-year FHA loan is 4.38%. We've been doing a lot of FHAs lately too. So there's a lot of availability out there for first-time buyers, all kind of buyers. We've done a lot of VAs. We've done a lot of everything pretty much. It's kind of been all over the board, which we're pretty happy about in that regard. Jumbo loan 4.35%, and a 5-year adjust rate mortgage 3.99% right now. So that's something to keep watching as we go forward. Everyone's kind of predicting that fourth quarter this year you're going to be looking at 4.8. Q1 of next year you're going to be looking at 4.9, and the average right now that everyone's kind of saying you're looking at for 2019 is 5.1%, and that comes from the Mortgage Bankers Association, National Association of Realtors, and things like that. And so we'll talk about what that means. Obviously, it affects both sides of the prism there, because you have the buyers out there who are obviously making their decision based on the cost of money. And so if you are approved for less, a lower amount, or you can only afford so much a month, that's going to cap you out what you can buy, right? And it may hinder someone from moving up to a larger home, which obviously hurts sellers a little bit. So we're not to that point yet, but that's something you want to take advantage of in that aspect, and make sure you can kind of take advantage of the rise here, right? We're seeing some softening in the market. As I mentioned a million times, I'm very well networked with a lot of top agents across the country. I think that's probably one of my biggest strengths. Is early on, I flew around the country everywhere to meet these people. What's going on? What are you doing? What's your market like? And I networked a lot to really learn what they do and what works for them. But now it allows me to have my ear to the ground, so to speak, and kind of what's happening. There's some fear out there. There's some real fear about marketplace slowing down in some of these super hot markets. Thankfully, we're not there yet. I think we're a little more isolated. And so that's something that you may want to kind of keep in mind as a home seller, to take advantage of that now, right? And be able to get into something else if you're moving up, where it may be based on that. And so great news though here for us, which is great. Again, condos absolutely crushing it last month, and regular home sales doing pretty good as well.
All right. Well, still got a lot of stuff to get to here in the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Coming up in just a minute, we have your hot buyers alert, and we'll also be looking at some of the great, awesome success stories that Blake and his team have been having just within the past week or so. So anyway, keep listening. That's all coming your way, and a lot of other stuff to fit in as well. If you'd like to give Blake a call, find out more about what he's talking about here today, do it. Call Sloan Realty Group at 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. Do you want your home sold on time and for the most money without all sorts of excuses? Hi, it's Glenn Beck, and when I had to sell my home, I went through several agents who all had good ideas, but the bottom line is they couldn't get the job done. Well, you have a celebrity in your own town.
If I lived in Myrtle Beach, no question, I would call Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Blake has a marketing system that reaches buyers from around the U.S. and around the world, and week after week, he attracts hundreds of buyers, and that creates incredible demand. And that's why he can guarantee to sell your home at a price and a deadline that you'll agree to, or he's going to buy it. Plus, you don't really risk anything when you list with Blake, since if he doesn't live up to the contract, you walk away free and clear. It's really no wonder why Sean Hannity and I, along with real estate tycoon and Shark Tank star Barbara Corcoran, endorse Blake. Call Blake Sloan right now, 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or visit Blake's website, that's blakesguarantee.com, blakesguarantee.com. Or listen to Blake's Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 or Sunday morning at 11:30 right here on WRNN.
Coming up in mere seconds, got some great success stories that Blake and his team want to share with you about people who have used Blake and his services. Right now, though, it's time for your hot buyers alert. One of the things that Blake was just talking about was inventory. He needs it. He needs it bad. If you've got a home that you're in right now and you're thinking of selling, even just thinking of selling, want to test the waters, want to stick your toe in the pool, that's fine. Give him a call right now because he's looking for homes anywhere in the range between $150,000 to $3.5 million. Call him at 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. Why does he need inventory? Because people from all over the world, literally, are on his website looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach area. They're probably looking for your home right now, but you just don't know it. Right now, 49,389, getting close to 50,000 people on your website actively looking for homes in the area.
It's crazy. That's one thing that blows everyone's mind when they see it in real time. Like I just interviewed two people to join our team this past week that were already licensed. One was from Florida, one was in Pennsylvania, and we were talking. They were talking about certain things. I showed them the back end, and they're absolutely floored. Both of them, like mouth almost hit the floor, just seeing and watching the people in real time move and seeing how many people there are. These are real people, like I said, username, password, account from all over, and they're looking to buy homes because why? We spend massive amounts of money driving traffic. What's the one thing you can remember that makes us different than everyone else? Is we outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. And so that's what helps you pretty much create more demand for your property. It's just like anything. You have a classic Corvette, right? You can take your classic Corvette, put it out in front of Walmart and probably sell it and do okay. But you can take the same classic Corvette and put it in every Corvette enthusiast magazine, every Corvette enthusiast website, and massive traffic. Guess what? You have a heck of a lot more buyers, which obviously increase demand and it sells more money. It's the same exact thing that we do here. It's what makes the business model work so very well. And so the reality is here, like right now on the site, there's these people active. Steve Shink, he's from Salisbury, North Carolina. Sandy Devers from Fairfax, Virginia. Terry Lindsay from Greenville, South Carolina. She's been on the site 449 times.
Wow.
Looked at 834 properties. So these people are like looking. They were looking for homes, right? And so that's just something that's important. John Waldeck from Baltimore, Maryland. Alan Malari from Washington, D.C. and Patricia Mann, Oakfield, New York. And so that's just the top few right there. And so the reality is, you notice a pattern there. They're usually from up north. I spend massive amounts of money online driving traffic to pretty much get buyers. You know why? That's where the money's at. That's where we're selling properties that are much higher price, and they're coming down here to buy. Everyone that's old school thought I was crazy in the beginning. They literally made fun of me for being the internet guy that was spending all this money online for people that weren't here, instead of basic newspaper ads and stuff, which we also do. But the reality is we have that so well dialed in, it brings massive amounts of traffic in, which we help serve them. They buy properties, and it helps our sellers though, because we can match up buyer and seller. The other thing that blew the other agent's mind, which we interviewed, was to show them the technology we have on the back end that'll take any new listing on MLS, especially ours, and reverse engineer the most likely buyer for that property based on their previous search pattern. So it's like a Google ad or pretty much like a Facebook ad. You're like you say something and then Facebook shows an ad so relevant to it. It's the same exact thing that we do, where it uses big data and technology, right, to reverse engineer which buyer statistically, based on a score out of 1 to 100, is the most likely buyer for that property. And so that's something that we're super proud of. We just did it with one of our success stories, which is something I want to talk about in a second. But the reality, if you're thinking about selling, call me, 843-808-SOLD. Don't wait till Tuesday, Wednesday. Call me right now. We're working this weekend, working on the holiday too, because we hustle. We get stuff done. And so the reality is that we need sellers. And anyone you come across this weekend, anyone you come across this week, do me a favor. If they say anything about real estate or selling, say, look, you got to call Blake. Don't make them go through the horror story first, or have them sell and cost themselves $10,000 to $15,000. We see it happen over and over and over. And so bottom line is, we need inventory. If you're thinking about selling, reach out to me because our marketing will absolutely blow your mind. And if you've been thinking about it or have somebody you know, give us a shot to at least show you what we do. I guarantee it'll blow you away. So real quick, if you want, one thing to remember too, I just forget, we do commercial as well. I mean, we have a limousine company for sale right now, all kind of stuff. We sell a lot of commercial buildings. We have a lot of buyers and investors looking to buy and sell everything. And so that's what we do. I always joke, we can sell a shoebox if we had to, but the reality is we have a team of people. We have specialists in each and every area, which allow us to do so. And so that's super cool as well. If you want, we can jump to that success story.
Absolutely.
So we're proud of this one. It's an awesome story here. Big congratulations to Eugene, he has a very, very, very awesome high-end luxury home in Plantation Lakes, one of the highest ones in there. He needed it sold for top dollar so he could move back to California. He was referred to us by an awesome listener who heard it and told him about it. Called us to get it sold right the first time, right? No horror stories for him, thankfully. Cool story here, though. We came in, implemented our global marketing blitz, our luxury strategy, had it under contract within 3 days for almost full asking price. And we priced that thing high. But the reality is, if it's a high-end home, like almost $1 million home, guess what? It's got to look like $1 million home online. It can't be some, big, crappy pictures with a cell phone or a basic. It's got to look good, feel good, and be able to be out there to the high-end buyers. That's how you get it sold in 3 days. This is a cool one too. I was talking about here, where we match up a buyer that we already had to it. And Tom and Jenny on our team, Tom and Jenny, they basically had a house in Carolina Forest. They needed sold so they could move back to Charlotte. And that's where Tom's job was and also his family. But they needed it sold for top dollar so they could purchase the home they needed back there. We came in, implemented global marketing blitz, professional photos. Here's the coolest thing. We instantly matched it up with one of our buyers, 49,000 plus, right? Instantly matched it up with our buyers. Ryan, who's on our team, is one of our buyer experts. Took him out there, showed the buyers to it, wrote it in contract, and we had it under contract less than 8 days. Boom. And it actually just closed this week, which is super cool.
That's great.
And so big shout out to them. And thank you for the trust in that regard. But the bottom line is we have buyers like that. Happens all the time. And that was something that I forgot to mention before a lot of times, is that we have the buyer, but we match them up. And so we may have a buyer like Dave mentioned for your property right now that obviously they don't know about it, because that's the other thing too, is a lot of buyers are searching. They don't really, the problem with MLS is that most realtors can't search MLS effectively, and much less a lot of consumers, right? It becomes difficult. Anyone listening that's done that, you know how it is. You go to the site and you look up some homes. It's like, oh, 600 homes match your criteria, right? And you go, oh, I'm gonna edit this up and make it, and then it goes, 6 houses matches your criteria, right? And so people get frustrated, and because the reality is a lot of agents don't even put their homes in, right? We had a big training on this week where, for example, if a lot of agents will have a condo or a house that's second row, they're too lazy. They don't put the second row in there as a feature, and so it doesn't show up in the searches. You have to be very good at making sure you help your client, aka the buyer, find those things. But more importantly, a lot of home sellers are missing out because their property is not even listed correctly in a detail. And the thing is, they don't know to look for that, because there's these drop down check boxes they have that kind of show, is the property in city limits? Is it not in the city limits? Is it second row, ocean front, marsh front, waterfront, whatever it is? It's got to make sure you have all those things. We have a thing that we kind of preach, and it's one of our core values, is that details matter. And so we're very, very fanatical about that. That's just something we experienced lately with a lot of people that we're missing out on stuff. Those things matter. And so we help our buyers, obviously, by knowing the market. Our team studies it every single day, and so do I. So that's one thing. If you're thinking about selling, reach out to me. Give me a call too for 843-808 sold. How much time we got?
We got about 4.5 minutes.
Let's talk about HOA reform. A friend of mine, basically, actually a couple of them are basically sponsor this and co-sponsor this. One person here, you may know, Heather Ammons, right?
Yes.
So I might try to get her in the show next week to talk about this. I was thinking about. She's a colleague of mine. Super proud of her for kind of getting this. They've been working on this for 3 years. But long story short, there were some big challenges with HOAs. As you all know, they're listening. Probably one of the biggest reasons we get people want to sell. Like, what do you want to sell for? Like, I hate my bleeping HOA, And so I had my boat there for an hour, and they, wanted to find me. And so the reality is they were kind of getting out of control. And so this is an awesome thing. I think that really kind of helped both sides of the I guess the problem there kind of come together. And so basically, now they're kind of under more scrutiny. This past week, Governor McMaster signed an HOA reform bill in that regard. Basically, there's a few things to it. It requires HOAs to record their governing documents with their clerk of court, which I think is very important. For us, it's always impossible to track them down, to know what's accurate, what's not accurate, what's new, what's old. They always kind of seem to be changing the rules up, at least what we experienced before. Also, a lot of cool things that it does is basically, I'll basically kind of run through what basically they have to record their HOA documents recorded with the clerk of court or register of deeds to be actually enforceable, which is very, very important because there needs to be that transparency there. Because a lot of times we couldn't access documents, we couldn't get them. Sometimes they charge our client $100 just to view the documents, like to get a copy of it. A lot of things are they're important. This is another key one here too, is magistrate court. So homeowners and homeowners associations can now resolve financial disputes up to $7,500 in magistrate court, allowing them to resolve some of this. We've had things battled out, deals held up, and what they'll do is they'll basically sue these people and drive up legal costs, and it gets very hard for the homeowners. So now it's very, very easy to do that. There's also a notice on budgets where HOAs are now required to provide notice to homeowners prior to holding a meeting that could increase their operational budget. And that would mean posting a flyer in the common area, on the HOA website, email distribution lists, which is huge because a lot of times they're having these meetings. The few that were kind of controlling the agenda would make the votes, and those would happen. And so that's something that's super powerful there as well. Also, disclosure statement. They're adding a section to the current property disclosure statement. So, for example, anytime a seller sells a house, you fill out the seller disclosure. And what is there wasn't really a box on the main one that said, is there an HOA or not? Now that has to be checked and disclosed. Okay. There used to be a separate HOA disclosure document, but if they didn't fill it out, you wouldn't know as a potential buyer. So I think that's a great news. I think they absolutely nailed this. I'm super proud of Heather and everyone else for doing this in that regard. I know Alan Clemens, I think, was on that bill too as well as a co-sponsor, which is cool. And a buddy of mine, Dan Hamilton, who is, well, not a buddy, but a colleague I've known for years. Right. He was part of that co-sponsor. He's in the upstate. Last thing too is I can't pronounce that word. Ombudsman. Ombudsman. Yeah, you're right. It's a tough word. Yeah, that's it. So, anyways, basically, there's an office that just I think it's a cool part too, where within the Department of Consumer Affairs will now kind of be like a consumer advocate, right, to help make sure that basically a lot of complaints, make sure there's kind of some amount of abuse going on. Because in my experience, there's been a lot of abuse out there that a lot of homeowners did not know, and it was quite frankly frustrating. I've seen it cost other people deals potentially. We're very, very good at making things happen. Our team has this kind of mentality of we're going to get it figured out either way. We kind of think around problems. We try to think around the corner, and we're able to go to the HOA office, meet with somebody, and help our client get what they need done, no matter what. But we see or heard a lot of people who are not in the know, especially if you're trying to force sale by owner. Do you know who to know, right, in the HOA arena there? And also, I've helped some clients get an attorney to kind of get their HOA in check really quick. And so that's something we've done. If you have any questions about anything like that, make sure to reach out to me. We're more than happy to help here as a consumer advocate in the community. Obviously, everybody knows that's kind of what we do. But more than anything, we're here to help. We're super excited about this. I'm going to see if I can get her on the show next week, or maybe even Alan, to kind of talk about this, because they had a battle 3 straight years of trying to get this pushed through. And I'm super proud of them and very, very thankful for that as an agent for sure. And like you said, HOA is one of the hot button topics always. Anytime that we do a lawyer show, either here on the TV where I do that other thing, calls galore. So interesting stuff. Okay, thanks so much, Blake. Thank you. If you'd like to get in touch with Blake, you can at the Sloan Realty Group office. The phone number again is 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. Another great show next week. Blake, yes, sir. We'll see you then. We'll be here. All right. It is the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaVox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts. When I'm Moving On won the award for ACM Song of the Year, it struck a chord with folks who understand the challenges that come with life's big changes. For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home. If you're moving on, you want a real estate agent who will make selling your home easy and stress-free. An agent who's willing to let you out of the contract if you're not happy with their service. That's why in Myrtle Beach,